Let me move on to our next panelist on my left side, Dr. Sundar Kamath. Quickly introduction. Dr. Sundar Kamath is Senior VP Technology for Sanmina Corporation. I am sure all of you know Sanmina is a global giant, $6 billion company doing electronics contract manufacturing. He is based at San Jose in California, and company has presence in 25 countries. And reason we wanted to have him here, that this company has presence in India and Chennai. Dr. Kamath holds a bachelor's, master's and doctoral degree in engineering and has a long experience in the industry. Dr. Kamath.
Thanks, Vivek. So if we can get the slides. So I was asked to give a little bit of a global view and also talk about what we're doing in India from a manufacturing perspective, what can be done. And I want to finish up by talking about ODM. To me, ODM is an industry that India absolutely can and make happen, and look at the example from Taiwan. So I'm going to finish up with that. I may run a little bit over, but you can stop me at the right time. So when you look at electronics hardware manufacturing, this is a big industry. You know, you're talking about $1 trillion industry, and I'm not even counting the semiconductor component of this. I'm talking about just hardware manufacturing. And probably the guys at the back can't see the numbers here, but nor can I. But if you look at the 4 segments here in terms of communications, defense, aerospace, computing, and medical, numbers are large. And going from 2013 to 17, the average growth rates, compound annual growth, is about 5 to 7%. So it is a steadily growing industry, but large numbers ranging from 50 billion to 80 billion in these different markets. And in terms of, just to clarify the terminology, we use the term ODM quite a bit. So I just want to clarify. OEM, we know what that is. You've got companies like big IBMs and the GEs, AMATs, NSN. They own the design, they own the IP, they do the branding, they sell the product, right? And they obviously have the highest margins in this food chain. And they might outsource some of the manufacturing. EMS, which has emerged in the last 20 years, has really grown. It's about a $250 billion industry today. Companies like Sanmina, Flextronics, Foxconn, Jabil, and so on may do some core design with the customers. Core activities, manufacturing services, supply chain, post-manufacturing services, and generally have the lowest margin in the food chain. And then ODM, which kind of comes in between, companies like Quanta, Inventec, Wistron, and so on. $150 billion industry which is growing rapidly. They do design, they own the IP, they have a product roadmap which the OEM will come and pick from. But the key thing is that they will carry the liability with the inventory. So they have to provide inventory for supplying as the demand comes up. And they have decent margins. So with that in mind, if you look at the top 10 EMS companies in the business, by far, Foxconn or the Honhai Group is about 132 billion. And if you look at the top 10, the key message you see there is China, between Taiwan and China, they own 71% of the EMS business. North America is about 17%, and then Singapore, which is Flextronics headquarters, is about 12%. So tremendous domination by the Chinese regions on the EMS side of the business. Now, a little bit about Sanmina, because I often get asked the question, who is Sanmina? And more common question I get is this a Japanese company or is it an Indian company? You know, even though we are in the US. So Sanmina started in 1980 as a Silicon Valley startup, and 2 guys started it with $80,000, and today it's a $6 billion company, 25 countries, 40,000 employees, doing manufacturing as well as design. And we do have some products within the company. So Sanmina is a little bit different from the rest of the EMS because we focus a lot more on high technology. So we don't do handsets or digital cameras or smartphones. We are much more in the infrastructure side of the business. And these are some of the markets that we play in. About 50% of our business in communications infrastructure, computing, storage. Medical is a very large segment for us, almost close to $1 billion in medical. We have a defense group called SCI Technologies, which develops products for the US Army and Navy and Air Force. And then we have a multimedia division, which does things from gaming systems for Las Vegas to point of sale, to scanners, to Hollywood movie cameras, high-end movie camera for movies. And then clean tech in the last few years has developed. Industrial is a large segment for us. And what I mean by industrial is really mechatronic systems, where electronics and mechanical come together for large capital equipment systems. And then automotive is our smallest segment. These are some of the customers that are in our top list. So as you can see, whether it's communications or medical or computing or defense, we have some very large Fortune 100 scale type customers. So the key point here is that you've got to have very high reliability, quality, and service. The company, this is a busy slide, but the main message I want to say is that manufacturing is at the core, but we are essentially three service offerings. There's design services and logistics and global services. Then we have component technologies, which makes PCBs, enclosures, sheet metal, precision machining, die casting, and so on. And then we have optical, RF microelectronics. Those are the component divisions. And then on the product side, we have the defense products. We have storage products, which are basically JBOD and RBOD type, disk array type products. And then we have a memory module group, which is focused on flash and SSD and non-volatile DIMM. So those are the three main areas. From a global perspective, we've got about 75 locations across all the different continents, and India is our latest campus that is developed. Just to show some of the products in terms of the complexity, on the communications, we do both active, passive components. We design some of these components, do the blades, do the chassis systems, and put them in a big rack or enclosure, so full turnkey systems. Medical, which I said is one of our largest divisions as well from a growth perspective. We do blood glucose meters, which is the high volume on the left side, and then we do also the big and ugly MR nuclear medicine for the big companies, and lots of diagnostics in between. This is something that I want to share. We do very complex capital equipment, so you will see products that go in for into the fabs. Some of these products we build and ship directly to the fab. Might be lithography systems, it might be wafer handling systems, it might be wafer polishing systems. So there's the range. LED chambers, for example, the vacuum chambers that are used for LED for CVD processes, and very large inverter systems for some of the solar and wind power. And this is, I wanted to mention defense and aerospace since this is important in India. We have very, very strong competencies in this space, and hopefully we can contribute to the Indian defense industry growth through the offset program and also some of the advanced products. Memory modules, I mentioned this before. So what are we doing in India? So about back in 2007, we started a greenfield in Chennai after looking at all the southern states. We looked at Bangalore, we looked at Cochin, we looked at Hyderabad, and then Chennai turned out to be the choice. And Chennai is run by Muthu Sivan, who is the VP and Managing Director in Chennai. We have a campus of 100 acres in Oragadam, which is a suburb of Chennai on the Bangalore highway. And we have two buildings up. We do all the different markets. We do electronics, system integration, and we have certifications for all major industries. We also started a design center, and I wanted to point out the connection that the design and manufacturing is key. So the design team that we started, which is part of my organization, now today we are about 90 designers in Chennai doing everything from hardware, software, firmware, test, layout, complete system level designs. And that connection is important. Now the key point here about design is, I know we have a lot of design companies in India, but it's the connection to manufacturing which is important. The value of the design is much higher when a design gets released into the fab, or PCB fab, or the assembly, and it can be manufactured first time with high quality, high first pass yields, and hitting the right cost points. And that awareness of manufacturing is something that designers need to be trained on, and that's an area that's, I think, important for the future. So when we chose Tamil Nadu, what we found there was these are some of the requirements for success in manufacturing. Logistics, single window clearances, power, support, labor relations, extremely important, the infrastructure in terms of what's going on for transportation, educational institutions, and then good workforce. I mean, we've had a tremendous high quality workforce in Chennai. Today it's about 1,200 people or so, 1,400, but very high quality. These are some of the products that we make in the Chennai plant in communications, multimedia, medical, aerospace, industrial, and so on. And did want to mention in this particular case the big issue about supply chain localization. When we were making this first product for one of our customers, we actually had to import the pallets from outside India because of the quality of the pallets for this telecommunication requirement. We had issues. But that's just one story. Eventually, we have managed to localize a lot of the commodities that are used in the plant, including connectors, cables, injection molded tools, plastics, rubberized parts, keypads, fasteners, cushions, foams, labels, die castings, very high quality die castings, machine components, and cabinets and enclosures. So all of these have been localized, and this is part of the infrastructure that we need for the ecosystem. Having a very strong supply chain capability of not just providing, products on one PO, but it has to be consistent and be able to ramp through the volume changes that happen, and we have flexibility as well. The team has won a lot of awards, as you can see here, for export and quality, as well as customer, very high quality. And from a design perspective, the design team has actually designed products out of Chennai, which are now being built in Sanmina plants across the world, in China, in Thailand, in Mexico, in Alabama in the US, in Malaysia, and of course in Chennai and in the US. So this is one of the key points, that we have trained the design team to design products that can be released into worldwide manufacturing plants. And that is what we need from designers. So what Sanmina has demonstrated, as Satinder said earlier on, is from his perspective, his company, we have also done the same thing to show that world-class manufacturing is possible in India.